I don't need to tell you that shortages with food are here to stay and will continue to get worse. I don't need to tell you that they're going to continue to manipulate the weather so that more and more crop seasons get burned out, like so many farmers and gardeners experienced this year. I don't need to tell you that they will continue to contaminate so many essential water sources that so many rely on and use these train derailments as scapegoats. And I definitely don't need to tell you that their plan is to wipe out as many resources as possible to get you hooked on their fake foods and control you from the inside out. It's happening, people, and the sooner you open your eyes to it, the better off you'll be. Run it. Luckily, we've seen homesteading, off-grid living becoming 100% self-sufficient with all the chaos that we've experienced, and I believe it will continue to do so the more people wake up. There are some evil people in this world that we know, and they want to bring harm to good people, and one of the easiest ways I feel that you can counter this attack is to build up a long-term food storage and be prepared. Now, when I bring up food storage to certain people I know, not everybody is aware of it. They almost think you're crazy for even talking about it, right? Luckily, I was born and raised around this idea to some degree, with living near heavy populations of members of the LDS Church, aka Mormons, where they are taught to have a year supply of food for your family, your supply of water, 6 months of financial savings built up, and to not take on new debt, which I feel is pretty good advice for anybody. I would also assume, growing up in that environment, if you will, that most members of that church are probably more prepared for shortages than majority of the other people out there nowadays. Here is a little quote on their website. We encourage members worldwide to prepare for adversity in life by having a basic supply of food and water and some money in savings. We ask that you be wise and do not go to extremes. With careful planning, you can, over time, establish a home storage supply and financial reserve. Fairly good advice, I'd say. Now, if you grew up around the Mormon culture, then you know what I'm talking about when I say this. It was fairly normal when I was growing up, when I was visiting friends or families that were in the church, to see some kind of food storage in their basement or cold storage. I would say on average, most people have, a few weeks to a few months in their house. Not too often I would see people with a full year plus. They're definitely out there, but it is kind of interesting how this is pushed when, to me, it was normal, like I said, growing up around it. But when I would talk to friends or other families that didn't grow up in the Mormon church, food storage was almost, the typical, oh, you're a doomsday prepper, oh, you're kind of crazy, why would you need food storage? And I'm sure if you're looking up this video, you've probably ran into those type of people yourself. If you haven't already, it is what it is. The best we can do is try to educate them and hope them do the same. But here is what the Mormon Church has up on their website as a starting point for members to kind of work up towards for an average adult portion, and also kind of an average to work off for the children in the home. And it's pretty spot on. You could obviously change it up a little bit, but you got your grains, which is 400 pounds. That's including wheat, flour, rice, corn, oatmeal, and pasta. That's great. Legumes, 60 pounds. Includes dry beans, split peas, lentils, etc. Powdered milk, 16 pounds. Cooking oil, 10 quarts. Sugar or honey, 60 pounds. Salt and water with 8 pounds and 14 gallons. And then the breakdown of, how much percentage of that based on the age group, which I think is pretty helpful and we could all probably take and learn from, honestly. Now, one thing we all know is happening right now is prices are continuing to increase with inflation and everything that's going on. And I feel like it's just going to get worse and things are going to get more and more limited as the timer ticks here. So I went to do more research on to find, okay, what are some top list of foods that are going into shortage right now? And I can't tell you how many I found. It was over and over. It felt like the list went on and on no matter where I looked. Like it was every food almost. But with this being said, if you feel overwhelmed, start small and just be consistent with it when it comes to buying. Like I always tell people that I know that are starting to get into this game to just start small with buying a few extra bags of rice or beans when they go to the grocery store to grab their regular items. Then work your way into buying some Mylar bags and learn how to use them and store the food properly, with the rice and the beans and everything you bought. And one little trick of the trade, I'd check out the clearance sections at stores as well for reduced cost items to add to your inventory list. And then also check out pages on Reddit. People will post large discounts on different items online, and I'm always kind of watching it. And it's just another good resource for you to use. Now, switching gears a little bit, one thing I wish I saw more, and I guess you do in smaller towns, than you do in the city, but I wish more people would use their properties and their yards to their advantage when it comes to growing crops and housing chickens to help become more self-sufficient. Seems like just such a waste to me that you have that quote-unquote perfect green grass yard with the white picket fence, and it does no good to you other than spend your dollars and show that your neighbors that you have your life together, right? Now, don't get me wrong. Having a garden and having chickens is a lot of work. It's an investment of time for sure, but there are definitely ways to be frugal about it and create a environment that is easier to kind of maintain, if you will, than going other certain ways. And what's the coolest part about it is once you get some momentum and you start getting the fruits and vegetables and the eggs, and you start now using those to put towards your prepper pantry for future, through canning or freeze drying, etc. So if you've been planning on starting a garden or raising chickens and just haven't yet, they're just kind of putting it off, use this as a sign to get started, because if the time comes when you need this skill and you haven't started it yet, you already know the answer. It's already too late. You owe it to yourself, you owe it to your family, your friends, all those around you that will rely on you to have this skill to take care of them in the future. So stop waiting, start. And you can start small, right? You can start super small. I know plenty of people that live in the city that own very little land, that have a few chickens, they have a little teeny garden, and you would be surprised on how much they actually can produce if you do it the right way. So with that being said, check out this video where I talk about the coming power grid collapse in the near future and what we can do to prepare for it.